Hi! I am back for another vlog, and I remembered to film one this time. After the fact, but whatever. I'm here. I have on makeup. I can make my little picture thumbnail thing. We're good. Okay, so today we're going to be doing the Wild Wynchesters, which is a Erica Ridley series put out by Forever. It is romance, and usually I try to cover romance, but this week is the queer romance readathon with beautifully bookish Bethany, and so I will link that below. But because of that, I had to read the Duke Heist first before I could read Perks of Loving a Wallflower. So I made a short little video for you guys. I have a microphone, and it doesn't always work because I'm on my camera phone, and the little like USB thingy that connects it makes it not the stablest this way, so it works, just not at the beginning of this. So there may be some different volume because it worked all the other times. You will also see me be outside, and I will be doing that occasionally, but not always, because there were wasps out there. The wasp lady came and she said, I cannot go outside for 3 or 4 days. And I said, okay, then I can't go outside for 3 or 4 days. Therefore, I'm filming this in here instead of out there, which is what I wanted to do. I picked these books, again, because it's a queer readathon. And I wanted to find something I haven't read before, but I love Erica Ridley. She's one of my favorite authors in romance. She's one of those instant buys, and I actually used some Audible credits for Perks of Loving a Wallflower because it was the cheapest way I could find it. My library and Scribd, neither one of them had it, so I went with what I got. I also did that with the Duke Heist because I bought the ebook, but I haven't been able to read it, and I wanted to read it, and I wanted to gather up what was going on. I believe there is a third book coming out this summer, maybe, and I think it's going to be very interesting. I think Graham is a very interesting character. We'll see how that goes. But before I get into that one, I had to read these two. See, there's the thing. There's also going to be a second queer romance readathon vlog, and that's only because it's going to be for all the novellas and the shorts that I'm reading. And I wanted to do that on purpose because I realized that Erica Ridley may take a little bit of time because they're fairly long books. They're historical romances, and they kind of go together. And you can tell that my dog is not happy about me talking to the camera again. I really hope you enjoy this vlog. If you do, please let me know in the comments below. I have some conflicting emotions in this vlog, and I will get into those throughout the vlog, and you'll see what I like and what I don't like and stuff like that. But ultimately, I think it was a fun vlog for me to make, and I hope you think so too. Normally this would go under Deconstructing Damsels, but this was kind of for this readathon. I'm doing this readathon here instead of doing it on Damsels because it's easier to do it in chunks versus all at once, later on. And I will be referencing it on there because I'll be talking about different points that I didn't talk about here on different things I read and stuff like that. So it's kind of like a two-tone one. I don't know how to put it that way. I very much think if you like Tessa Dare, you are going to like these books, and you may actually like my review. There's a lot of interesting elements because in the Perks of Loving a Wallflower, you have a non-binary character who uses feminine pronouns, but frequently discusses things like being able to be fluid in her gender, and I think that's very important. And I think it's something you just don't get in most of them, and so I'm preparing you for that. That's in the second book. The first book, The Duke Heist. If you love Leverage, you're gonna love my coverages book because I keep talking about them. And the characters in that and these books together. I also very briefly discussed The Governess Gambit, and I'm going to link that one below because as far as I know, it's still free on Amazon. And enjoy the B-roll. There's a lot of really interesting parts of the city you're gonna see. Continue on. Hi guys, I am back for another vlog. So today was supposed to be the zoo day. Unfortunately, the bus company decided to cancel trips for 2 hours. No reason why, and no updates on it. In the meantime, I am going to be recording the vlog that I've been missing doing, that I promised I would do for Erica Ridley, because I had some mental health days and I just did not feel like doing them. Some days just don't feel so great, right? Alright. So, I have been listening to the Duke Heist. I love Erica Ridley. I don't know if anybody is aware of this, but basically, the Duke Heist, Chloe Wynchester is trying to get back her painting that was stolen from her adoptive father. Welcome to Germany in spring and summer. So because of that, I have always been interested, and I read The Governess Gambit, and I'm going to say to read that before you read this or any of the other ones in the series, because there's at least going to be at least 3 books, probably more because there's like 6 siblings. But in The Governess Gambit, it sets up the background to what's going on in this book. I think that's very helpful. When I read it, it was free. It may still be free. I'm not entirely sure. But anyway, in this, so Chloe needs to get the picture back. She can't find an easy way of doing it. So she's going to have the impertinence to have a Duke introduce her to it. And of course, it's the Duke's father who stole the painting. And he's now the Duke because the other Duke died. Okay, that's the basic ideas. And in this, Chloe loves the Duke. She falls in love with him over time. This is not a spoiler, it's a romance. We know how this is going to go. But basically what happens is Chloe is unsure of how to handle this because based on status, she's a daughter of someone who has a peerage, but she's an adopted daughter, so she has no real accessibility to that world. And then you add in, the class differences, the fact that she's a wild Winchester, and the Wynchesters are very persona non grata because of their father being, their father was very eccentric, and that was just not allowable because this is the Regency era. And you have all this going on, and then you have Lawrence Faircliff, who is the hero, Duke of Faircliff, and he is needing money because his father basically turned it to ruination. So there's a lot going on there. I'm hoping to finish the book by today. I'm really enjoying Chloe. I actually really, really, really enjoy Erica Ridley's heroines. I always have. And I'm reading this because the Queer Readathon is going on Monday, the 13th, through the next Monday, the 20th. And I wanted to read this one before I read the next one because some of the characters are kind of intertwined a bit. So I'm enjoying Chloe. I think she's smart. She's intelligent. I like the fact that she has her issues, but she does her best to not, deal with them in the wrong way or anything like that. But additionally, I like the fact that everything is about her family, and even if they don't know anything about her, they know something about her, and I think that's really important. I'm very much into the way that the storytelling is weaving, because I like it when it's not forbidden because it's not, but it kind of is because of what he needs and what she needs. He needs money to keep his dukedom going, and she needs someone willing to accept her and her family, and of course he cannot do that. And like I said, this is the first update I've done. I thought there's a couple of scenes in here, by the way, that are phenomenal, and I have clips of them. I can't access them because they're on my phone because this is an Audible book for me. The best lines I've had or have seen has been about consent. Consent of marriage, of life, of communication, of community, and I think that's phenomenal because you don't always find that. They've done a really good job. I say they because it's not just the author, it's also the editing, the company, the Forever who publishes the books. They've done a very good job of building this up. And like I said, Erica Ridley is probably one of my favorites when it comes to historical romances. I find her highly interesting. I would say, so far, this is probably one of my favorite books by her. I'm not a fan of the Duke. I find him to be somewhat 1.5 note. He's not like even 2 notes. But the community within her family is so strong that I love it. And like I said, I should be finishing this later today, so I'll give you an update probably before the sun goes away again. Again, I was going to go to the zoo. I've been trying to go to the zoo forever, but the transit company here sucks. Anyway, I hope that I'm going to continue to love this. The consent thing was so freaking important to me when it came to him realizing that his need for money should not supersede the consent and the autonomy of the person that he's pursuing, which was not Chloe. It was Philippa, who is another character who plays into one of the books later on in the series that I'll talk about. So, Wallflower. But I'll talk about that later. but I really thought that was such a smart way of doing it, and if I can figure out how to get the audio on there, maybe I will. But that's the updates so far. I'm very much enjoying it. I'm going to record some videos in a few minutes, which is why I'm wearing this outfit, but I'll be wearing a different outfit for that, but the same makeup because I'm not changing makeup. This is me. Okay, so I'm here to say that I did finish the Duke Heist. I enjoyed it. I had some issues with it, but I enjoyed it. Ultimately, I think it was a 4-star for me, and I think that's actually pretty good. I think the only thing that really made it difficult for me was the fact that I didn't necessarily like Lawrence. I did not like the love interest at all. I feel like he was a little bit flat. He was missing some of his elements that makes him a little bit different. He was so society ruled and stuff like that. I don't necessarily know if he fit in with the Wynchesters at all. He was a little bit too straight-laced. I also did not really care for the grand gesture, the grand finale. I thought it was a little bit weak as a plot point, so it kind of brought it down. Chloe kept it high. I loved Chloe. I thought Chloe was great. Chloe had a lot of pizzazz and she had style. She reminded me a little bit of Sophie from Leverage, which makes sense because, I mean, these are basically somewhat based on the Leverage style heist problem, the problem and the solution and stuff. I felt like she was a good central character to kind of introduce the family. And again, if you read the Governess Gambit, you will meet more of them and you will see more of what they can do. I also enjoyed the fact that it was a family. Like, sometimes in romances, in historical romances, you don't always get a family. But in this one, you got a really solid, deep, wonderful family. And I thought that was amazing. And it really brightened up the world. If you like Tessa Dare, you will absolutely like this series. Like, it's very Tessa Dare's in her latest series with the kind of blue stockings. Because Tessa Dare loves blue stockings, and that's why I read Tessa Dare. It's got that kind of feel to it. I will say that I felt like maybe there was a little bit too much family in it, as, you know, kind of they introduce themselves as they go. And it's not necessarily a negative thing, it's just kind of like one of those things that you just get sometimes. But what's interesting is I'm actually reading The Perks of Loving a Wallflower now, which is also by Erica Ridley, hence the Erica Ridley vlog. And I'm loving it. There's a lot of really cool discussions about things that are going on. And I will say the Duke Heist also has a really great central point in it about consent. And not just like consent in sex or romance, but also in like living together and having options and coming together and stuff like that. Beautiful work. There's that one scene where Lawrence and Philippa are talking, and Philippa is someone that he's supposed to be going after because she has a large dowry, stuff like that. But it's really nice to sit there and watch the exchange and him realizing, but is it worth losing myself for? And I felt like that was such a strong message, and it carries over into The Perks of Being a Wallflower, because the main Wynchester in this one is Tommy, who was dressed up as their great aunt in one of them. And she's like the costume. She's like constantly going in and out, in and out, in and out. And I can definitely see her definitely fitting into the Leverage cast. But it's interesting because she's, so far, I'm in like chapter 12, she hasn't mentioned her pronouns or anything like that, because I don't think it would make sense to put it in there given when this is set during the Regency. But there's a very clear indication of non-binary, I would say, so far. And it's interesting because Philippa is not attracted to men, but she's in the world of this, so what do you do? How do you react and stuff like that? And it's just, there's this great sense of queerness in this. And I say this because it's not all 1, 2, 3 like you get in some romances. It's very clearly indicated. And Tommy is a master of disguise, Thomasina. But I like how her family accepts her for who she is, and they force her to come out of her, roles, and force her to really face the fact that she's really liking Philippa. Sorry, I got distracted. I keep forgetting people live in the houses back there. But I just thought it was really cool and really interesting and really different. The fact that, Ridley has really put a lot of time and effort into this, creating this character and some of their conversations. And Chloe was scared of being seen almost, right? And for Tommy, it's almost similar but differently, because Tommy and Chloe were bonded the most at the foundling house, the orphanage. And you've got this really great thing of like, Tommy doesn't mind being seen as long as she's not herself, which is actually similar to Chloe, because Chloe didn't mind being seen as long as she was another person or being forgotten. And so there was this great ability to kind of build this level in the Duke Heist that kind of extends into the perks of being a Wallflower. I don't like Philippa's parents. I think they're very controlling, but I think if you've ever had a controlling parent, you know what that's like. I'm not saying mine have been in this way, just that if you've been under constraints before, you'll know it. Philippa wants herself, but she's still discovering what that means. And as someone who has been, in season after season, has put things off and being controlled by her mother, I can very much understand that, and I can see it, because it's very societally aware now as well as then, because women did not have any opportunities. And Tommy is currently dressing up as I guess what you consider their imaginary owner of the building, of their estate, because Bean died in the governess gambit, which was their father. And when he died, they created another person to kind of create that sense of opportunity in case they needed it for someone to come up. So that way they're not taken away, because, the Wynchesters are adopted, so therefore they're illegitimate. They're not, real to the society at large. But I like how Philippa doesn't necessarily want that, and Tommy doesn't want it either, but they don't want it for different reasons. And I find this writing really well done, and I find it entertaining. And you don't always get that, right? So definitely into it. I'm hoping to have this one finished by tomorrow, so then I can begin reading a bunch of novellas, because this vlog will end, and then my queer romance readathon one will also begin. I'm doing it this way because the rest of them are all novellas. I think the longest one's less than 4 hours. So I wanted to focus on these two because they're so intertwined, and I love that about historical romance, so we'll see how that goes. But overall, I'm appreciative of all the characters in this book. I like the romance between Philippa and Tommy. It hasn't happened yet, but you can see it building, and you can see the effort that Erica Ridley put into creating a strong narrative that you maybe not find very much in traditionally published historical romance. And so we'll see how that goes. Hi! Updates. So I listened to a little bit more of Perks of Loving a Wallflower. And I'm really enjoying the fact that Tommy did not hide her gender or identity. In this case, I'm using she because Tommy kind of uses she throughout. But there was no hiding of identity, that she was, in fact, a girl. Biologically, she was a girl. And that she wasn't the Baron, that Tommy was not an alias for another boy. It simply was who she is. She's Tommy, short for Thomasina. And I appreciated the fact that there was a lot of communication with that. And Philippa had the choice of keeping the secret or letting it go, and she kept it, and I thought that was great. I was down for all of this. You see my fan box in the back. I thought it was a really fun, interesting, consensual way of bringing things to, and now they're at the ball, and Philippa is getting the first waltz, or the only waltz, with Tommy, and, Philippa's mom is scandalized, but there's just this very neat way of incorporating them, and there's some miscommunications and some assumptions that are not going to turn out to be correct, obviously, because it's a romance, and so we can figure this part out. But it's done in a way that makes sense, right? Because it fits the time, it fits the reality of when this was being written, or time frame that was written about, and I really appreciated that. I would be outside right now, but there are kids screaming outside, so I thought maybe come inside for this one. But in general, I find that Erica Ridley is handling this plot with a lot of care and time and a lot of interesting looks at the way society is working. Like, for instance, there's one part where Philippa's mom tells her that she needs to do this, like to get married or get engaged or some kind of like betrothal in order to get her once a week or 1 hour once a week to 2 hours, which is completely blackmail, and Philippa calls it right. And her mom was like, but that's all society is. It's just blackmail. It's just extortion on what you need. And it's how you do it. And there was such a good line. And I think that Ridley has done a really good job of adding that kind of stuff into the content. I wasn't necessarily expecting it either. So I was very excited about that. I've got like probably 60% more of the book left. I'm hoping to get it done hopefully by tonight. I can't listen to it faster than 1.75 because for whatever it is, Audible does not like me to go faster than that. I would prefer to be at like 2.5 or 3 times the speed. It's easier for me to listen to it, but it is what it is. Hopefully I'll have it done by either tonight or early tomorrow so I can begin those novellas, but in the meantime, I'm really enjoying this book. I wasn't expecting to enjoy it this much, but it's really hitting that right tone and that right words, and I can see why people have been recommending it. I definitely am enjoying it. I can't wait to see what adventures that Philippa and Tommy go on, just because, you know, Tommy is a wild Winchester, someone that you do not associate with in society. And Philippa is also, well, she has the right money, the right things, but she doesn't have the right title. So it's interesting to see how they're dealing with the class differences in this situation. So hopefully it will be more interesting as I go. I really appreciate the steam level. Like, Tommy very much desires Philippa and talks about it and relates it and talks about being a lesbian, presenting as a lesbian. I don't know yet because I'm still this far into the book. But, you know, there's a lot of discussions about being gay in a time where it wasn't necessarily illegal, but it wasn't something that you could do to maintain your status. And I appreciate that Erica Ridley has taken the time to look at that as well, because I think it adds a lot of dimensions to Tommy. I can definitely see I can see some of Sophie and Tommy from Leverage, you know, her ability to kind of like just slide in and out of roles, but I can also see where there's a little bit of, I'm not going to say Parker because it's not Parker, but there's a little bit of, I guess I'd almost say an Elliot element to her as well. You know, that, not the hired gun aspect, but the not afraid to do things. And I think that's really interesting to add to this. So we'll see how this goes. Okay, so I'm doing this at a weird angle because I'm holding my microphone and it's a USB blue snowball, but it doesn't like my connection for my phone. It's a whole thing. Anyway, so I finished Perks of Loving a Wallflower. I was going to give it 4 stars because I really loved it, and then I got to like the last 15% or so, and oh my god, I got so angry. So what happens is they find the solution to the problem. I'm not going to give all this away because I'm not going to give spoilers for the whole thing. But the one thing that really pissed me off was Philippa wanted to stay within society because she felt like she could get more tenure, which is a concern considering it's the Regency romance era. And Tommy wants to be known for Tommy, and I get that. And I love the fact that Tommy is obviously very non-binary. They let that out of the bag very early on. It wasn't this big, you know, you tricked me, blah, blah, blah. There was a lot of conversations about it, stuff like that. But ultimately, Tommy wanted to be known for Tommy. But she never takes into account that when she first met Philippa, she was going by Great Aunt and Baron Vanderbean, right? So there was no acknowledgement of the confusion that would lead And Philippa does love Tommy, but Philippa also, again, wants some of the basic things. And I feel like in the end, they forced Philippa to hit Tommy's side of the argument without any kind of compromise. And I don't like that. I do not like it when romances do not have compromises. Because the whole point is a grand gesture should show the compromise of what you're going through. Not the take it or leave it aspect. And I feel like Philippa had to give up more than Tommy did. And that really bothers me because I love Tommy as a character. I think she's amazing. A non-binary, woman who uses feminine pronouns and is also a lesbian is pretty interesting because it's not something you see in historicals very often. And I really appreciated that. But I feel like she just left Philippa to do all the heavy lifting on the sacrifices, right? And it made me so angry. I was actually ranting about this with my husband. The fact that ultimately, it's not about what Philippa needs, it's how to fit where she thinks she can. And I feel like Philippa had been raised in a very domineering mother, a very passive father, a very demanding life that she necessarily didn't want. And there's no chance for her to understand that in this book. And it dropped it from a 4-star to a 3.5 star. I got so angry it dropped it like half a star, because I feel like, and this is just me, that if you're going to do something like that, you need to have an acknowledgement of everything that Philippa has gone through, not just Tommy, right? Because Tommy this whole time has not really communicated with Philippa with what's wanted for the most part, not until they start having sex, which is like, I guess somewhere around 70% in, and it was really good, really steamy. Like I believe the build-up. I believe the steam level. But I could not co-sign the fact that ultimately it had to be Tommy's way or no way. Because Tommy was a wild Winchester. And Tommy had gone through a lot, and she very much loved her family. And that is an amazing thing. But also, there was a little bit of misunderstanding and not really getting what was going on with Philippa and just the way she had been treated, because Philippa's parents weren't titled, but they were rich and they wanted to buy their way in. And we see that in the Victorian era as well. You saw that a lot with like the Vanderbilts and Astors and so forth. So it wasn't unreasonable, I don't think, for Philippa to expect that. And I thought it was very not so great for them to not give her that acknowledgement, ultimately. I really wish they had, but unfortunately that's not what happened. I also found the ending slightly not satisfying because of that. Again, I went from a 4 to a 3.5 star. I gave the Duke Heist 4 stars. And I usually really enjoy Erica Ridley's work, but this one just really hit me the wrong way. Because Philippa is also learning more about sapphic romance, lesbian romance, and working to solve something that's not even hers to solve, but because it's her friend, she cares about it. And Tommy as well, and that's amazing and that's great. But ultimately, I don't know. I had so many issues, and I know everyone loves this book, and I really wanted to love it too by the end, but I really could not handle that part, sadly. So my vlog is ending with a 4 star for the Duke Heist, because I didn't like Lawrence for some of the same reasons that I didn't like the way that Philippa was being presented, but Lawrence has a different set of privileges and rights that Philippa does not have. And Philippa had a great, dowry and a great inheritance, but if you've been raised to be one thing all your life, it's very difficult to do that. And so I gave this one 3.5 stars. I rounded down on Goodreads to 3 stars because I couldn't really justify rounding it up to 4 either. So ultimately, I really enjoy the Wild Wynchesters. I enjoy the feeling of it. I love Tessa Dare's style writing. And I'm not saying Erica Ridley is, because Erica Ridley writes very differently, but it's that style of camaraderie among women. Like the book group here in this one is very clearly important. And maybe that's another reason I put it down too, because Philippa's actions in trying to justify a wrong ended up costing her friends based on society. And I don't think that the Wynchesters necessarily took that into account because they already have a built-in family. Philippa is an only child, a daughter, and I just feel like it was missing some stuff. Sorry to say. But I will say this was a really fun vlog to make. It's short. It's not too long. I don't know how long it's going to be because that's my husband's job, editing on his computer, because he's got the fancy equipment and I have my phone. Because my computer is from 2011. Just a little old. I have more vlogs coming up, so expect them. I'm enjoying blogging, but I don't know if you guys are enjoying listening to me vlog. So can you let me know in the comments? And I will see you next time. So please like, subscribe, hit the bell. Is that what we're supposed to say? I always forget this part. And if you don't want to leave a comment and below, I don't know, leave a cat. Because the cat was very important in the past 2 books. That's one of Jacob, which is one of the wild Wynchesters. He trains animals for these kind of interesting leverage style deals, and I really enjoy Tiglet. I really enjoy the little cat, the homing cat. That takes a lot of work to make a cat into a home. Alright guys, bye.